What is wrong with people? Can't anyone help the old woman?
Oh, these cars are fast. How will I cross? My legs are failing me.
I have just 20 minutes. If I miss this submission, everything is gone. I won't get this job. Mama, let me help you.
Really? Why do you want to help me?
Because it is the right thing to do.
When they got to the other side of the road, the place was calm and safe. The old woman slowly looked at him with a grateful eyes. Thank you so much, she said softly. She paused for a moment, then looked at him again. What is your name? Josh, he replied with a gentle smile. Her eyes dropped to the blue file in his hand, and a look of concern crossed her face. Josh, you must be going to work. Because of me, you are now late. He shook his head slightly. No, ma, it's a job interview. But it's okay. I still have time. She looked at him again, a little surprised. You really did all this for a stranger? Josh replied calmly. There is no problem, ma. He turned to leave. Then suddenly, he stopped. Something didn't sit right with him. He turned back and looked at her again. Ma, how will you get home safely? You are alone. The old woman smiled gently. I am waiting for my son. He told me to stay at home, but I didn't want him to stress. So I came out here. Josh nodded slowly. Okay, ma. Then he turned and began to walk away. At first, his steps were calm, but soon they became faster. He held his file tightly. He knew he was late, very late. The interview might already be coming to an end, but he didn't want to go home. Maybe, just maybe, there would still be a chance for him. So he kept going. As he walked, he quickly searched his pocket and brought out the little money he had left. I need to stop a taxi, he said under his breath. He raised his hand, and a taxi slowed down in front of him. He told the driver where he was going. His voice slightly rushed. Inside the car, his heart was beating fast, but he stayed quiet and tried to stay strong. Within a few minutes, he was there. Josh stepped out and stood still for a moment, staring at the building in front of him. It was big, beautiful, impressive. His eyes slowly moved from the gate to the top. For a moment, he pictured himself walking there, walking in every morning, dressed neatly, with confidence and purpose. This was the opportunity he had been hoping for, the one he didn't want to lose. He took a deep breath and walked inside. Inside, the place was quiet but tense. Other people were already seated, waiting. All of them dressed well, sitting carefully, waiting. As soon as Josh walked in, a few heads turned. Their eyes dropped to the file in his hand, then back to his face. Some of them exchanged looks. Then a few of them laughed softly, not loudly, but enough for him to notice. He paused. From the way they looked at him, he already understood. They had all submitted their files, and they were now waiting for what would come next. Josh looked up and noticed a young lady at the reception counter. He stepped closer and spoke politely. Excuse me, he greeted softly. The young lady was focused on her system, her eyes fixed on the screen. After a few seconds, she gently raised her head. Good morning. How may I help you? She asked in a calm professional tone. Josh swallowed hard. I came to submit my CV for the job. Her expression changed slightly as she looked at him more carefully. She checked her system, then spoke with a serious tone. I'm sorry, but you are late. You were given a time, and coming late is enough reason to lose the opportunity. Josh quickly tried to explain. It wasn't my intention to be late. Something happened on my way here. She listened, but her tone remained firm. Right now, other candidates are being reviewed, and final choices will be made soon. There is nothing I can do to help you, sir. You have already missed the opportunity. Josh went quiet. He nodded slowly, holding his fists tighter against his chest. Without saying another word, he turned and walked away. His steps were slow, heavy, as if each one carried disappointment. As he left the building, his mind kept racing. Back on the other side of the road, the old woman stood quietly, waiting. After a short while, a car pulled up in front of her. The door opened quickly, and a young man stepped out in a hurry. Mom, why did you leave the house alone? He asked, worried. You should have waited for me. The old woman smiled gently, as if nothing was wrong. Before she could say much, he carefully held her hand and helped her into the car. He made sure she was seated well before closing the door, then went around and got into the driver's seat. Soon, they drove off. Inside the car, the young man glanced at her. Mom, how did you even cross the road? The old woman's face lit up with a soft smile. A kind man helped me, she said. A very good man. Her voice carried quiet joy. He said his name was Josh. I pray he gets the job he is going for. Her son turned slightly, surprised. He was going for a job interview? He asked. Yes, she replied gently. Nobody stopped to help me, except him. I am so grateful. She kept talking about Josh, how kind he was, how respectful, how he didn't complain. All through the journey, she spoke of him with warmth. Back on another side of the road, Josh stood still, holding his file tightly. His mind was heavy. I didn't get the job, he thought. How will I take care of my home? What will my wife say to me? After a moment, he raised his hand and stopped another taxi. He got in quietly and told the driver where he was going. This time, his voice was low, tired, and heavy with worry. When Josh got home that day, he opened the door slowly and stepped inside. His wife quickly came to meet him, her face full of expectation. You are back. Why is your face like this? She asked. Hope you got the job. Josh didn't answer immediately. He walked quietly to the cushion and sat down, dropping the file beside him. Then, in a low voice, he said, No, I didn't get it. The smile on her face disappeared at once. Her expression changed, slowly turning into anger. Why? She snapped. Why can't you get a job? What do you want me to do now? How will you take care of me? Josh looked down, tired. I got there late, he said softly. Her eyes widened. But you left home very early. You were not supposed to be late. Josh took a deep breath. Yes, I know. But on my way, I helped an old woman who was struggling to cross the road, so I couldn't meet up. For a second, there was silence. Then she continued, her face filled with anger. You left your interview to help someone you don't even know? An old woman? She shouted. Now look at what it has cost. How will we eat? Why do you like to suffer like this? She kept shouting, her voice rising with every word. Josh remained calm. He looked at her and spoke gently. Please, calm down. Tomorrow I will go for another interview. She scoffed. Better for you, she said coldly, or you will not have any peace in this house. Then she turned and walked away, leaving him sitting there. When the old woman and her son finally got home, her son helped her out of the car and walked her gently inside. The old woman sat down, still thinking deeply. After a moment, the old woman looked at him. My son, we need to find that young man, the old woman said softly. We must look for Josh and appreciate him for what he did for me. Her son looked at the old woman, then nodded. You are right, Mom. We will find him. The young man's name was Stephen. He was not just an ordinary person. He is a businessman, a very wealthy one. He owned many companies and was respected by many people. If he wanted something, he usually got it. But this time, it was different. Stephen began to search for a man named Josh. He did not have his address, no phone number. He didn't even know what he looked like. It made everything difficult, but he still tried. He asked questions. He told people to help him, but there were many people with the name Josh. There was no way to know which one was him. After some time, Stephen stopped. "There is nothing I can do. I have tried," he said quietly to himself. He sat in his office, staring into the space. That day, he went home. As soon as his mother saw him, she rushed to him. "Did you find him? Did you see him? Where is he?" The old woman asked quickly. "Mom, calm down," he said gently. He held her hand and made her sit down calmly. "I couldn't find him. There is nothing I can use to trace him." The old woman's face fell. She was not happy, but she understood. She sighed softly and said, "I pray that one day he will find someone who will appreciate his kindness." Far away, Josh had already started looking for another job. He moved from one place to another, entering different companies, asking, hoping. But everywhere he went, he heard the same thing. "We are not employing at the moment." Day after day, the answer didn't change. Slowly, the hope in his heart began to fade. One afternoon, as he walked tiredly along the road, his eyes caught a signboard in front of a large building. "A gateman needed." He stopped. For a moment, he just stared at it. He knew that was not what he wanted. Josh had studied hard. He had dreamed of working as an auditor. But now, he had no choice. He walked into the compound. The place was bigger than anything he had ever seen. A powerful company. People moved around with confidence, well dressed, neat and professional. For a second, he imagined himself among them. But reality quickly returned. He asked for directions and went to apply for the position of a gateman. The interview was simple and it went well. A few days later, Josh resumed work. Now, he stood at the gate, working in one of the biggest companies he had ever seen or heard of. It wasn't his dream job, but at least he had something, and for that he was grateful. But at home, things were different. There was no peace. His wife was not happy. She hated the idea of him being a gateman. She insulted him often, reminded him of his education, his certificates, and how he had ended up. "What kind of man are you?" she would say. "After all your schooling, this is what you could become?" She kept asking him for money, amounts she knew he could not afford. Still, Josh remained calm. He loved her deeply, and every time he would gently say, "One day, things will change. Just give me time. For now, let's manage what we have." But she didn't stop. Yet, every morning, Josh still went to work. He stood at the gate, doing his job with honesty. One day, a black car slowly approached the gate. Josh quickly straightened up. He stepped forward and politely signaled for the car to stop. The window rolled down. Inside sat a well-dressed man, calm and composed. Josh greeted him respectfully and asked for clearance. The man looked at him for a moment, then asked, "Are you the new gate man?" Josh nodded slightly. "Yes, sir." The man gave a small nod. Josh stepped aside and opened the gate. The car drove in slowly. That man was Stephen, the owner of the company. The car came to a stop and the door opened. Stephen stepped out calmly. He was dressed neatly and sharply, with polished shoes that shone under the sun. His wristwatch sat perfectly on his wrist, simple but expensive. Everything about him spoke of class, quiet power, and success. As he began to walk towards the building, his steps were steady and confident. Workers who saw him quickly adjusted themselves. "Good morning, sir," they greeted politely. Some stood straighter, others lowered their heads slightly in respect. Stephen gave small nods as he walked past them, calm and composed. Josh returned to his position, watching Stephen as he walked calmly into the company, unaware that the man he had just spoken to was the son of the old woman he once helped. After work that day, Josh felt a little happy. For the first time in a while, something lifted his heart. He couldn't wait to get home and tell his wife Ruby about his day, how he had seen his boss, how handsome and well put together the man looked. It gave him hope. Maybe one day he too would rise. He got home and opened the door. Immediately, something felt wrong. The house was quiet, too quiet. Ruby, he called. No answer. He called again. Ruby, still nothing. His heart began to beat faster. He quickly moved around the house, checking everywhere. No sign of her. Then he rushed into the room. He stopped. Everything looked empty. Her bags were gone. Her clothes gone. All her things gone. Josh stood there, confused, his eyes moving slowly around the room. Then he noticed something on the bed. A note. He walked closer. Under the note was Ruby's ring. She had left it behind. With shaking hands, Josh picked up the paper and opened it. He read slowly. Josh, I have moved on with my life. Since you can't do better and take care of me, I'm done with this marriage. Josh's hands dropped. The paper almost slipped from his hand. His chest tightened. It felt like something inside him had broken. He sat down slowly on the bed, quiet. Josh and Ruby had been married for 3 years, but they had no child. Still, he always believed that one day things would get better, that one day they would have their own child and live a happy life. But now, he had lost everything: the job he wanted, the peace in his home, and now his wife, Ruby. Josh lowered his head, his eyes filled with pain. He didn't say a word. He just sat there, broken. But after a while, he slowly picked himself up. He knew he had to keep living. He knew he had to keep pushing. Life would not stop for him. So he stood up. Every morning, he went to work despite everything. A few days later, the company was busy as usual. Josh stood at the gate, doing his work quietly. His face looked more serious now, more tired, but he still remained respectful to everyone. That morning, a black car slowly approached the gate. Josh stepped forward immediately. As the car came closer, something felt different. He straightened up. The car stopped. Inside the car sat Stephen, and beside him was the old woman. Stephen had brought his mother that day to show him his company and how it had grown so fast. Josh lowered his head slightly and greeted them respectfully, as he always did. Good morning, sir. He did not look inside properly. He did not see the old woman. The car moved in quietly. The old woman turned her head slowly. Her eyes fell on Josh. She looked at him for a few seconds, quietly, carefully. Something about him felt familiar, something she couldn't explain. She frowned slightly, trying to remember. My son, she said softly. Yes, Mom, Stephen replied. That young man at the gate. She paused. There is something about him. I feel like I have seen him before. Outside, Josh stood quietly at his post, unaware that the woman inside that car was the same old woman he once helped, and that this moment was about to change everything. What will the old woman and her wealthy son Stephen do when they realize that the gate man is the same Josh they had been searching for? Someone who had been right under their reach all along without them knowing. What will happen to Josh now that he is finally about to be noticed? And what will life be like for his wife, Ruby, after leaving him because he wasn't rich? Stay tuned for part 2. Thank you for watching. Let me know where you're watching from in the comment section. Bye!